Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching Study IQ IS English channel. In our today's video, we'll understand how DRDO plans to modify Agni 5 missile to make it a bunker buster weapon, right? So let us understand why is this development actually taking place. Now there are many reports, especially which has emerged after the US bombing of Fordo nuclear plant using one of its bunker buster bombs, that even India is trying to develop one of its bunker buster bombs. But this is not a conventional bomb. Rather, India is trying to develop a new bunker buster missile by modifying its existing Agni 5 intercontinental ballistic missile, which was originally designed to carry nuclear warheads, and instead of that DRDO will modify it so that ICBM Agni 5 would now be able to carry as much as 7,500 kilograms of conventional warhead. Now this modification to Agni 5 will enable it to destroy enemy targets which might be buried quite deep inside the ground, right? Therefore Pakistan is quite flabbergasted. Pakistan is quite worried. Why? Because it gives India the ability to target deeply buried military installations, nuclear facilities with high precision. That are the features of Agni 5 missile, right? But why is India modifying its Agni 5 missile? There must be certain trigger point, right? Let us understand this. Now for this you'll have to turn back your clock about a month or so. Last month, in the month of May, we saw US used its bunker buster bombs GBU-57 against the Iranians Fordo nuclear facility, and Iran's Fordo nuclear facility was buried deep inside the ground, about 80 meters inside the ground, and to destroy those hardened targets, US utilized the services of the massive ordnance penetrator bombs or GBU-57. As you can see, these are massive bombs weighing as much as 13,000 kilograms, and therefore only the few air forces in the world have the ability to carry these bombs and drop them wherever it intends to, right? So this was the precursor. Before understanding how India wants to modify its nuclear missile, let us first understand few features of this bomb. Then you'll know why is India unable to make these kind of bombs and rather relying on the use of existing resources. First, let us talk about MOP. MOP or massive ordnance penetrators. These are bombs specifically designed to hit deep territories or underground targets. Now this MOP GBU-57 in particular, it stretches up to 20.5 feet in length. It has a diameter of more than 30 inches and it weighs more than 13,000 kilograms or 13 tons. And these bombs are called as bunker buster bombs, which carry a kind of munition which enables it to attack deeply buried facilities or hardened bunker targets and meant to effectively destroy them. Now in reality, you have to understand these GBU-57 MOPs are the most powerful non-nuclear weapons that are currently in use. Now let us understand how these bombs are quite effective. First of all, these carry a large amount of explosive, but to protect them from the initial detonation, so that they don't detonate when it hits the ground, you provide the protection to these explosive by encasing them in a special high performance steel cage. So the explosive, the ignitable explosive, you put them inside the high performance steel cage, which enables these missiles not to get detonated as soon as it impacts on the ground. Rather, upon hitting the ground, it does not explode. It goes deep inside the target, and only when it is deep, few hundred feet below the sea level, then only it detonates, effectively destroying the target and killing the people. Therefore, these GBU-57 has the ability to penetrate as much as 60 meters deep inside the earth, which is good enough to destroy any hardened targets, right? So this is how these MOP effectively works. Now once an aircraft, which is essentially a bomber aircraft, drop these missiles, they effectively reach their target with the help of global positioning system, and as soon as they hit the ground, they don't detonate, rather they go deep inside the ground, and after that it explodes, killing or destroying the targets, right? So this is how GBU-57 works. Now why isn't India developing these kind of bombs? First reason is India does not have the kind of aircraft that can carry a weapon which weighs 13,000 kilograms. India has Rafales, which can carry as much as 9.5 tons of payload. It has Sukhoi 30 MKIs, which can carry about 7 to 8 tons of payload. So India does not have the aircraft which allows it to carry a bomb that effectively weighs 13 to 14,000 kilograms. Therefore, India, being smart, it used the resources that it at its disposal, that is Agni 5 missiles, right? So therefore, India relied on Agni 5 missile. Now US, at the time of Iraq war, at the time of Afghanistan war, it had several smaller bombs that was destroying the underground targets. But as these were smaller bombs, so US realized that they weren't able to destroy deep bunkers. So for that, it developed a much larger GBU-57 MOP. It was developed by Air Force Research Laboratory of US in close cooperation with a major defense company, Boeing, as its industry partner. And the latest airstrikes on Iran on Fordo marks the first instances where these bombs have been used in combat, right? I am talking about the much larger GBU-57 bombs, which are much larger than the bombs US used during Afghanistan and Iraq war. Now let us understand why is India modifying the Agni 5. This is being done by DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, and the intention of modifying the Agni 5 so that we are not using the nuclear weapons or nuclear warhead, rather we are using about 75,000 kilograms worth of conventional explosives to target hardened underground military installations. These can be command bunkers, these can be nuclear silos, which are otherwise quite difficult to destroy using the existing set of weapons. And these are under the both borders, that is in LOC with Pakistan and LAC with China, right? So India can effectively target the hardened bunkers of these two countries using the modified Agni 5, which is carrying the conventional warhead, not the nuclear warhead. Now this gives India the certain advantage. First of all, as I told you, US used these B-2 bomber aircrafts, which are a specialized aircraft carrying stealth features. So it was able to evade the enemy radar systems just because these aircraft were stealth aircraft. Similarly, these are massive aircrafts. Therefore, it was able to carry much larger weapons as compared to the conventional fighter aircrafts. But since India does not have these kind of aircrafts at its disposal, so the next best option India had was to modify one of its existing missiles, that was Agni 5. And Agni 5 by far is the most advanced and the largest range missile that India has under its armory. So India decided, why not we modify Agni 5 and use it for bunker busting purposes. First of all, using such missiles gives India many advantages. First of all, we can strike deep inside enemy territory without the using nuclear weapons, right? You need to understand nuclear weapons, although very powerful, but there is a certain taboo attached to its use since the time when it was used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Therefore, even when countries are fighting the war which have nuclear weapons, for example Russia and Ukraine, only Russia has nuclear weapons. But why is Russia not able to use these nuclear weapons against Ukraine? Because of the taboo associated with it. So India still is not using nuclear weapons in this case, and using it is using the Agni 5 missile and striking deep inside enemy territory, right? So this is the first advantage. Similarly, it threatens the hardened sites that were previously considered as invulnerable by China and Pakistan, so they'll be very worried. Another instance, as I've told you multiple times, that the ICBMs or ballistic missiles, they travel outside the atmosphere. But when they re-enter into the atmosphere to strike their targets, they travel at a very high speed, much above the speed of sound, which puts them under hypersonic territory. So this facilitates India to rapidly deploy these missiles, precisely target the enemy targets with much speed, and it reduces the time or reaction time it would take the enemy to counter your missile. So this is second advantage. Third advantage is modifying the existing missile would give you the capability to penetrate targets which might be 80 to 100 meters deep, much bigger than the GBU-57, which targets about territories which is about 60 meters deep inside the territory, right? So it is enough for you to target nuclear bunkers, command centers of enemies, and it undermines the deterrence capabilities that our enemies used to think that they have with respect to India. So earlier, India was not able to target Pakistan because it created a euphoria that Pakistan has nuclear missile and it can effectively retaliate, right? But after Operation Sindoor, we have seen that India has called this nuclear bluff of Pakistan, and utilizing existing missiles at its disposal without having to use the nuclear weapons, it can effectively neutralize the enemy's command centers and nuclear silos. Similarly, although you are putting much higher payload into the conventional missile, therefore the range of Agni 5 missile, which has been claimed officially at 5,000 kilometers, although there are many experts who think that Agni 5 can travel much farther than 5,000 kilometers, but let us understand the range of Agni 5 is 5,000 kilometers, right? But since you're attaching 7,500 kilograms worth of explosive to Agni 5 missile, its range would reduce effectively to half, but it is still enough for you to destroy any target that is there in Pakistan and important key regional targets in China. Therefore, it is sufficient to reach and destroy critical infrastructures of your enemy. So this is why India is utilizing Agni 5 missile, modifying it to suit its circumstances and enable it to destroy targets deep inside enemy territory. Now, why has been Pakistan rattled? First of all, it is India's novelty of using its existing resources and modifying it just by the virtue of our good engineers and scientists, because this weapon, when it will be developed, it will be first kind of conventional weapon that gives you the ability to strike such targets with high speed and deep penetrating capability. So first is the risk that it posed to Pakistan, that has rattled Pakistan. Second, it highlights a strategic shift in India's foreign policy. First of all, India subscribed to which foreign policy? Of no first use of its nuclear weapon. So this put Pakistan at much ease that India won't be the first one to hit them with nuclear weapons. But now we have said that we are going to rise up the escalation ladder without having to take the recourse or help of nuclear weapons. So India's posture now, it says that whenever you conduct terrorism on us, whenever you threaten our military infrastructure, we'll target deep inside your territory, and your nuclear facilities are also not out of bounds. So this highlights that India has made indeed a strategic shift in its policy. Similarly, it also brings certain challenges. First of all, whenever you're launching an Agni 5 missile, Pakistan won't be in a position to 100% say whether that missile is carrying a nuclear warhead or a conventional warhead. So let us assume if Pakistan assumes that our Agni 5 is carrying a nuclear weapon, so it will be creating an escalation, it will be creating a crisis, and therefore there is a risk of misinterpretation on the Pakistani side. We have understood they are not the smartest of the lot, right? So therefore there are certain challenges, but in all, it rattles Pakistan, it demonstrates India's street smartness of using its existing capabilities by modifying it, and it also demonstrates that with respect to government, with respect to armed forces, there is a significant strategic shift on our side, right? So this is what you needed to know about the modification of Agni 5. There are certain questions that I've attached. I'd want you to answer them all. Which one of the following best describes the term GBU 57 sometimes seen in the news? So do let me know the correct answer of this question in the comment section. And also, these are the questions that can be asked in the exam with reference to strategic bombers. Consider the following types. You have to match the aircraft type with their description and the roles and responsibilities. Now, this is very similar to the question that have appeared in this year's prelims examination. So these are the two questions that you have to solve. Do let me know the correct answer in the comment section. And if you want to download the notes, they will be available on a particular Telegram channel known as ATS Live. Let me go to the place. You can download the notes on this particular Telegram channel ATS Live. You also have an option to scan the QR code. So this is all from my side. Please do let me know the correct answers that we have already discussed in the comment section, and if you answer it correctly, I'll give your comments a thumbs up. This is all from my side. I'm not very regular on these channels these days because I have other classes obligations. I'm taking foundation classes in the resolution batches. I teach economy there. You can still take admissions to those classes by using the code ATS Live only. You need to enter the code ATS Live, which is also flashing on the bottom half of your screen, and you can get classes from me in economy using that code, which will help you get discounts. Okay, there's also a number in the ticker. You can use that number to get any of your queries solved. So we'll see each other again. Until then, please have a very good night.